Spike's New Brother, Chapter 6, Part 2.
What? What did you say?
Celestia shouted, aghast to what she just heard. The Sun Guard was freaking out to no end. He didn't want to get sent to the sun, of course.
Well, like I said, we can't really find them, Princess, but I do have this. Twilight's parents sent you this letter.
He pulled out the letter from his saddlebag nervously and gave it to Celestia. She used her magic to levitate the parchment and read it out loud.
Dear Princess Celestia, like you, we're happy about the upcoming marriage of our 2 children, plus the 6 daughters-in-laws. However, we feel you might be taking it just a little too far. Do you remember all the bits you gave us when Twilight became a princess and the stone rune tablet? And that we told you we wanted to build a summer home? What happens when you embed a magic-blocking rune tablet into your newly built home somewhere in the Everfree Forest? Not the dangerous part of it, but still a beautiful, secluded location where a family cannot find it because they were not told of it?
Celestia's eyes shrank to the size of pebbles.
Don't tell me. You've got to be kidding me. They wouldn't. Would they? If you have figured it out by now, then yes, we've used the magic to block your locator magic. Spike and John will only show themselves when they are good and ready, and when you have calmed down a bit. Thanks for understanding, signed Mrs. Sparkle. P.S. You're not the only one who has powerful magic and is acting like a mother.
Celestia just sat there, her mouth gaping open. She couldn't believe it. Some pony had outwitted her. Celestia remembered she gave them all those gifts, but she never thought they'd use it like this. It was ingenious, but right now she was not happy. Rose and Luna had been listening to every word of the letter.
You mean I can't see my darling? But why? I love him!
Luna said with a bit of disappointment and sadness in her eyes. Rose just whistled.
My, I didn't see that coming. You gotta give it to them. They outsmarted you this time, Princess. Oh my.
She said that because Luna and Celestia were about to freak out, and they did.
What do you mean you can't find them? They said in unison. Send out all the guards. Search the Everfree Forest. I will give a reward to the first one that finds him and brings them back to me unharmed and safe.
Luna once again shook her head in agreement.
Yes, bring my John to me. I have not waited for 1,000 years to wait even more. Go now.
Yes, ma'am. With that, every sun guard in the castle took off to the evergreen forest in search of the 2 grooms-to-be. Rose shook her head, and she knew what was going to happen. She did a small prayer for those 2 boys.
By all that is Equestria, may they be able to hide for as long as they can. If not, it was nice knowing them.
Then she went about her daily duties, humming as she left the throne room. While this was all going on at the castle, some pony was barely waking up. At Ponyville's Golden Oaks Library, Twilight Sparkle had just woken up. She usually sleeps in all day from studying all night long. She got up, fixed her mane, and started on working today's chores. She organized the shelves, dusted them, aired out the books, and the things that Spike would usually do. That's when she realized that Spike did a lot for her. Even before the spell, she just felt crummy. She felt like she'd been taking advantage of Spike's kindness, his loving nature. While she was self-loathing, there was a knock on the door, well, safe to say, a whole lot of knocking. As if some pony was trying to break down the door at this point. At first she didn't know who it was, but realized the only pony who could be this hyper would be...
Pinkie Pie,
she muttered to herself.
Coming. Hold on. Yes, for Equestria's sake, Pinkie, hold...
But then when she opened the door to the library, it wasn't the pony she was expecting. It was Shining Armor and his wife, Twilight's best friend and sister-in-law, Princess Cadence.
Twilight, Shining told me everything about last night. Is it true about King Sombra, you hurting Spike? Was he really going to another world? Did a human come to our world to live here? Then become Celestia's new adopted son, and you and 5 of our best friends and Trixie are going to marry Spike? And what's this about Spike kissing Trixie? Is he was already married to her? Is Claw... Where was it going? I don't know what's going on.
Twilight was baffled. She looked away from Cadence and saw Shining. He sat down and shrugged his shoulders. Hey, I had to tell her. If I didn't, I'd be in the doghouse. You're not married yet, so trust me. If you do get married, you gotta make your husband, or wife, very happy, even if it means telling them every little detail. Cadence turned around to Shining Armor.
You got that right, buddy. Oh, and Shining said that there might be children in the future? What's going on?
Twilight let out a deep sigh.
Okay, Cadence, okay. Come inside and have a seat. Shining, get some tea and some snacks ready. This is gonna take a long while to explain. Plus, if Shining had stuck around, he would have noticed what else had happened.
Wait, what else happened? Shining looked at his sister with confusion. What do you mean, Twi? Twilight shook her head with a sly smile.
Well, here's what happened.
An hour later passed.
Oh, my Equestria!
Cadence only laughed to what she just heard from Twilight.
John is engaged to Luna, and they just cut and run? I mean, I don't really blame them. Yeah, we overreacted.
Twilight blushed. Shining Armor just sat there with his mouth open. In the words of John, oh my bap, I should have stayed and helped him out, some brother I've been. Cadence continued laughing as she wiped a tear from her eye.
Honey, I don't think it would have really made a difference. It seems to me like the Princess of Love, this was really meant to have happened. Twilight, I'm so happy for you. Now, I know Spike's dragon heartbreak is gonna be tough, but if you still stay true to your love for him and keep at it, I know you'll succeed. I just can't wait to see my nieces and nephews. Cadence!
Twilight said, nearly choking on the tea she drank.
It's way too soon to say that. Not that it hasn't been on my mind, I just don't think I could handle him in that department just yet.
Twilight, you naughty mare. Cadence squealed.
Oh, I didn't need to hear that, horse feathers. I just think my mind's been scarred.
Cadence only shook her head.
Honey, it's not all that bad.
Twilight was just shocked.
Cadence!
Cadence turned around and started chuckling.
Well, it's the truth.
Unzip it for once. Shining Armor cut in. And, Twilight, did you know Mom and Dad built a summer home in the Everfree Forest? Twilight went from embarrassed to dumbfounded.
No, what house are you talking about?
Shining only smiled and then hoofed-palmed himself. Here, sis, read this letter that Princess Celestia received this morning. Twilight was confused more than she was before, but she took the letter and read it.
Let's see. John, Spike, a rune tablet? Blocks locator magic? My goodness, I knew Mom and Dad were clever, but to outsmart Princess Celestia, that's a new one.
Shining Armor burst into laughter. Those are our parents! That also explains why Celestia has every guard in the Everfree Forest looking for them. Twilight looked a little disappointed.
Celestia's going that far? I mean, I want to see Spike, too, but don't you think he needs some time alone? Everything happened so fast. Twilight, please, girl, you miss him a lot. Don't lie to me. I'm the Princess of Love.
Twilight fidgeted with her hooves with a slight blush on her face.
Okay, you got me there, but I was still thinking she's rushing things. Tell me if I'm wrong, Cadence. I mean, think about it. From Spike's and John's point of view, especially John's, he didn't know about the ancient marriage customs. He was just trying to help out his brother.
Cadence began to rub the back of her head, with her hoof feeling a little guilty and embarrassed.
Yes, you're right. Spike just found out he was going to be the first Dragon Prince of Equestria. Not only that, but 7 beautiful mares, you included, just revealed that you love him. And this human John has been on the streets homeless from what I've heard for, 10 years? Had his dream shattered in one day, comes to Equestria and gets engaged? I see your point now. Well, to be fair, that is kind of your fault. Wait, what?
Twilight replied with a shocked expression. Shining Armor noticed this as she looked dead in Cadence's eyes. Shining Armor knew this situation all too well. Uh-oh, here we go again. Mare fight. Shining Armor recalled last night when the main 6 found out about Spike and Trixie. Shining quickly backed up from the table. He had no intention of being part of this. Whatever was going to happen, it was about to go down between these 2 young mares.
What do you mean? What do I mean? Lula told me what you heard about Spike and Trixie, and she explained it. You 6 ponies were going to tear him apart. Because of that, John hopped onto Luna's back, which then caused him to have pulled off the necklace, which got him engaged. Remember that? And, one more thing. When you did start loving Spike, more than a brother is more than a special sun pony. From what I've been seeing, you act more like a big sister to him. Not once did you give him any hint that you loved him more than a brother. When did this start? Come on, details!
Yeah, me too, Shining Armor added. When did this happen, Twilight? Shining Armor had returned to the table when he realized the danger was only a false alarm, but now he was really curious. Spike has indeed grown up to be a handsome dragon. He knew this. However, he never knew Twilight had those feelings. He only figured that the relationship between her and Spike would always stay the same. Never, in his wildest dreams, did he think Twilight would fall in love with Spike. Once again, Twilight went from being serious to embarrassed.
Well, Well, you see, I...
As Twilight was trying to figure out the words to explain, Shining Armor and Cadence leaned in, and Twilight took a deep breath and started to explain.
Well, it all started a month after Spike and I got back from the human world, and as you know, I had a crush on Flash ever since I interacted with his human counterpart.
Cadence nodded her head, as did Shining Armor. Both of them knew Twilight had come to each one of them for advice on how to tell him. Yeah, I remember, Shining Armor began. He's a good guy and a good soldier. Oh, what happened? Shining Armor asked in confusion.
I tried asking him out a few times, but then I backed out because I was scared, but then Spike came up to me and helped me out. Okay, Twilight, you can do this. Just ask him. You've been friendly towards him. You've been giving hints that you like him. You've been at this for 6 weeks. Now it's time.
Twilight was in the Candlelight Castle. She was waiting in the corner of the hall for Flash Sentry, a Pegasus guard. Twilight had a little crush on him, and he reminded her of a human Flash. All of a sudden, she heard him coming. Then she proceeded to put a plan into action. He was coming down the hall on patrol, as he always did this time of day, around 5:30 p.m.-ish. Twilight came around the corner and pretended to bump into him.
Oh, hello there, Flash. On patrol? How goes it?
All fine. Nothing exciting. Calm as usual, it always has been. Thank you, Princess, for asking. Twilight blushed a little. She had finally gained some ground enough to finally tell him what she needs to tell him.
Flash, you know, I've been wondering, if it's okay with you, would you like to grab some lunch sometime together? Or maybe...
But then before she could finish, Flash stopped her and he did not have a good look on his face.
Twilight, Your Highness, listen, I know where this is going, and I've been noticing the hints, and I am truly honored and flattered, but I already have a fiancé. I'm going to get married this weekend. I'm sorry,
Flash said, bowing down to her. Twilight only looked shocked. Her heart shattered at that moment. Flash only looked at her with sadness in his eyes.
Oh, okay, it's okay. I'm really happy for you. Really, congratulations. At least one of us can be happy.
Twilight said, trying not to break down then and there. Flash did try to say something, but Twilight just turned around and ran as fast as she could. She used a teleportation spell and teleported herself from the library. She opened the door and walked in, and she took a few steps and just broke down in the center of the library. Spike had grown a few inches, but not as much as the other dragons that had gone through their teen growth spurt. However, while he was doing his daily chores, one of them was dusting the shelves and airing out the old scrolls. He heard Twilight crying.
Twilight?
Spike began, worrying about his sister.
Hold on, I'm coming.
Spike on the second floor of the library jumped over to the side into a spinning front flip and landed perfectly on the ground. Then he raced towards Twilight. Twilight had noticed this and was impressed as well as shocked.
Spike, when did you get so athletic? You jumped 20 feet in the air from a second floor.
Spike didn't really care about that. He was more worried about Twilight.
Never mind that. What the heck is going on? Did someone hurt you?
At that moment, he started acting like a dragon, a real dragon that would defend its loved one to death. His eyes splinted and his nostrils flared each time he spoke, flames and sparks coming out.
Who did this to you, Twilight, and how dare they hurt my sister, whoever it is? They better hope to Equestria itself that I don't find them. You are my family. You belong to me. Heart, body, and soul. And the only way that some pony is going to take you away from me is from my cold, dead claws.
At first, Twilight was somewhat scared. Spike was acting a little like a ferocious beast, especially when the flame and sparks of lightning came out of your little brother's mouth. But as soon as he said that, he would die for her. She felt safe. She felt like she belonged at his side.
Really? You mean that, Spike?
Spike had calmed down at that point.
Sure, why wouldn't I mean it? I love you, Twilight. You know, if I knew more about you, I would say that we were already going out despite being family.
Twilight couldn't believe what she heard. At that moment, she felt a pulsating sensation. Twilight was caught in a daze. Behind Spike was nothing but a bright white light. He looked dazzling. He looked and acted dominating, strong and brave, like a true knight fresh off the battlefield. He looked like something out of one of her romance novels.
No, not like that, Spike. It's Flash. I finally told him.
Spike's eyes widened. He knew that she was going to tell him soon, but not this soon, and his worst fear was realized.
Twy, you did?
What happened? Spike wondered.
He's He's already engaged, Spike. He just told me a few minutes ago. Apparently I was wrong. He's not the same as the one I knew in the human world,
she said, sniffling, holding back her tears. Spike was now forming tears of his own. He knew how hard it was for her to get the courage to tell him how she only felt to be shot down. It had been 3 years since he came to Ponyville. He longed after Rarity. He wanted to love her so bad, but respected their friendship. After so many times trying to show her in his way that he loved her, nothing happened. He realized at the time that he should just give up on his love for her. It was never getting past the dreaded friendship zone. So he stopped going after Rarity's shop less and less. If he goes, it would just remind him of the pain of never winning her love. Spike just sat down next to Twilight and hugged her out of the blue. This surprised her, but, well, she welcomed it.
It's alright, Twilight. I know where you're coming from. After all, I did give up on Rarity.
Twilight snapped her head up, and she never thought he would ever say those words. Ever.
You what? How did that happen? You always love Rarity,
she finished with her head cocked to the side. Spike began to rub the back of his head with a claw.
Yeah, I know, but after 3 years of straight hints, always being there for her, she never told me once to wait for her or anything. Heck, even with all the clues that I've been dropping over the years. I'm just thinking that we're friends. Nothing more, nothing less. I guess this is it for the best. I'm just a baby dragon. I can't believe it. I didn't see it before. I mean, it would have ruined the reputation she worked so hard for. I can't mess that up because I don't want to be selfish. What friend would I be if I was?
Twilight was even more shocked. She couldn't believe how mature he had gotten. He seemed to glow with maturity, and yet to her surprise, she found him attractive. From what he said next, definitely sealed the deal.
Twilight, you'll find your special sun pony. I'll even help you look, but I wouldn't worry. You're smart, beautiful, you saved Equestria many times, and any stallion would be honored to have you as his. How do you know this, Spike?
Twilight asked him.
Come on, Twi. Any pony would be lucky to have you. I make this promise, when you do find him and you'll start a family, I'll watch over them as if they were my own. To your children, to your children's children, to your children's great-grandchildren, and so forth. Us dragons know one thing about family, is that they look out for each other to the end of their days. And I will bring fire and destruction to anyone who threatens that.
Twilight Sparkle was shocked and amazed and positively swooned. No stallion, or any other being, had ever said those words to her. No one has ever touched her so deeply, and at that moment, she felt like just being so close to him. Twilight believed she can do anything in that moment, and she realized that was when she was in love with Spike. Of course, Twilight wanted to see if it was just in the heat of the moment or not, so she didn't really tell him right away.
Spike, thank you. That was the nicest, most loving, caring thing any pony has ever said to me, and it came from a dragon.
Hey, Spike said in a sarcastic tone.
One, glad to have you back, and two, who says I can't be romantic? I won't be a baby forever. Just so you know, dragons can be very romantic when they want to be,
he said, chuckling. Twilight only smiled.
I can believe that,
she said softly so that Spike couldn't really hear her.
Come on, Twilight, let's go to Sugar Cube Corner and get some tasty dessert from Pinkie Pie. Here, my treat,
he said while he stuck out his claw. Twilight blushed a little, and she gave him her hoof, and they went on their way to Sugar Cube Corner.